On the gate, on the gate, on the gate, on the gate, on the gate. How y'all doing, people? We on the gate today. Well, I decided to come on the gate today because I've been following up on this Pistol P propaganda. Not the real Pistol P. Not Sex Money Murder Pistol P. Shout out, salute to the homie. Sex Money Murder Pistol P, man. They got the homie under the ground. While this nigga out here playing with his name. You know what I mean? But salute the real Pistol P. You know what I mean? They used to have an anthem. Sex, we need it. Money, got to have it. Murder, cause it's always on our mind. Anyway, this other Pistol P, Spanish Pistol P, I guess he was on a internet talking about he went to the yard. First he told all the brothers to pull back because he's going to the yard to stab all the black guys. And he went to the yard and he ended up stabbing all the black guys in the yard. And then the main dude that ran off was getting escorted by the police, and he ran up to him, ate his food, and got away with it. I heard that story, and I was trying to think back what stabbing that I heard happened in Katsaki, because I was never in Katsaki. But my homie Hamo got stabbed up in Katsaki. I think it was Katsaki or Sing Sing. You know what I mean? But it wasn't no situation where one nigga stabbed nigga up. I ain't even heard of this nigga Pistol P until I came home, because the only Pistol P I know or heard about was the big homie. You know what I mean? Sex Money Murder. You know what I mean? The Spanish guy that said he part of TS. You know what I mean? And I never heard of him. And I was in the mountains, man. You know what I mean? Not saying his name wasn't ringing bells, because my name wasn't ringing bells. You know what I mean? But I guess when he came home, he got with the right people that he could have told his story of what he was doing in prison and link up with his counterparts in the free world and put his story out there. But I think he freestyling. Because then I think I heard another story saying he was in Clinton and he did the same thing. Like he stabbed everybody black he told niggas the black brothers in the yard or whatever. Like he stabbed, and I know that ain't happened in Clinton, because he would have got his head ripped off, poked up. I put it down in Clinton already, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's not even a situation where, because I'm thinking about a movie that me and the homie Nervous did, you know what I mean? And KB and all them niggas. And we was in Clinton Yard, you know what I mean? I just came to Clinton. I think I told this story one time. I just came to Clinton. It was on Key Block, you know what I mean? And when we went to the yard, you know what I mean? It was like the homies over here, you know, it's Key Block Yard, so it's only Latin Kings, Mietas, you know, people that's affiliations that's be in the yard, Key Block Yard sometimes. So it was the big yard. I was in A block at that time. And when we went down into the yard, the big yard, you know what I mean, word came back to us like, yo, what's up with these Spanish niggas playing with the homies in population? And I think something did happen in the cat. And niggas was like, yo, what's up with that? And niggas in Key Block just letting these niggas live. So then we made up our minds, said we hitting something in the yard. I ain't even know if they was Latin King or Mietas or Rat Hunters or whatever. We just made up our mind because we seen how they rolling. Like they had a bench, and you know the leader was walking around the yard, and they would switch up, because I think it was 6 to a bench and thing like that. And we came up with an elaborate plan how we gonna hit them Spanish niggas. And we ain't care who it was. So I guess he was on a vibe like that. Like maybe he meant that nigga Pistol P. I think he meant like on his gallery. He told his mans in them that was blood or Muslim or 5%ers like, yo, things about to pop off in the yard with some Spanish, with some blacks or bloods. So, some black dudes from Brooklyn. So y'all niggas pull back if y'all don't want to be involved. And niggas must have came to an understanding like, yo, we ain't involved with that shit. You go do what you do. We ain't trying to get in trouble. So nigga went to the yard with his peoples, and all the black niggas was in the yard. They was with the program too. So I guess shit just popped off. It looked like it was just blacks against Spanish, but maybe it was Spanish niggas, mostly Spanish niggas, and the oppositions was blacks. Like if you go and, but he can't put it all in one cipher like he told all black dudes and he stabbed up all black dudes in the yard, because that wouldn't have happened like that. Because you got Muslims, you got 5%ers, and that would have started a wicked race war. It would have started a race war in there. You know what I mean? Not over in there, because Katsaki, you won't be happy when you go to Katsaki. But when you go to Katsaki, I never been to Katsaki. Those jails that's close to New York, I wish I was. The only closest jail I went to New York is Comstock. You know what I mean? Gladiator school. You know what I mean? But Katsaki, niggas be getting cut there. It's like Little Rikers Island and shit like that, I heard. And you see Katsaki, Green, and Washington. Let me tell you something. As a homie, you don't even supposed to live there too long, man. I heard a lot of story about the cat. A lot of homies tucking their flags. A lot of homies, you know what I mean, was getting blown up in the cat. You know what I mean? And niggas wasn't helping them and shit like that. You know what I mean? And Washington Green too. So when you go to them jails as a homie, they are mostly controlled by Spanish people. You know what I mean? And not only that, but the blacks in those jails, the black men's, I never, like I said, I never been. These are things I heard while being up north. Like the blacks, they're more side with the Spanish niggas. You know what I mean? Yeah, I heard that. I heard a couple niggas getting moved on, especially in Green. You know what I mean? The homies was coming there and they was allowing these niggas to tear the homies out the frame. You know what I mean? Where in some jails, that would not be allowed. You know what I mean? That would not be allowed where a homie just come up north, he unpack his bag, next thing you know, whispers going around instead of a black man putting him on like, yo, son, they about to move on you. Niggas make everything look sweet, and niggas end up getting eat coming back from mess hall, coming back from early go back in them prisons. That's why when you go to like Green, Washington, Katsaki, you know what I mean? Not really Sing Sings back then. Sing Sing was getting a lot of bloods popped off in there, and made it established in there, sing that song. So, but those three jails, you supposed to just put down your bag and pop off immediately, especially in Green. Pop off immediately because you're not gonna win. You know what I mean? Because they saying that Crips was back in the days coming up, like this guy Blue Boy and all that. When I was in Comstock, Clinton, I never seen. There was one Crip, and that nigga was on my gallery, and that nigga was on Ramadan, and we didn't even have beef with the Crips. It was just on a principle that we was just coming up, and he was Crip, and we was blood. And son couldn't even come to the cages. He couldn't come out his. One time they made a mistake and let me to be the porter. He couldn't even come out for the showers. You know what I mean? Because that's how it was back then. You know what I mean? So in Katsaki and Green and Washington, they had things like that. They had Crips coming up in those jails. Not in Clinton, not in Compton, not in Attica. It was full fledged in those jails. It was Kings and Bloods, Rat Hunters, you know, a little bit of Dominican powers and all that. But you know what I mean? It wasn't. They didn't have control like that. Cause shit was moving up north. When you pass Comstock, even though a lot of them little mediums still was on that bullshit, but once you get to Attica and Comstock and Windy and Elmira and Auburn, those was Damu places. You know what I mean? But when you get to Katsaki and Green, they were still playing razor tag. They were still playing razor tags down there. They were still touching niggas. Man, them old timers up north, you know what I mean? They was moving strategically, even if, you know what I mean, strategically, you know what I mean? There was old beefs going on. You know what I mean? There was things going on that was bigger than Damu's, you know what I mean? But Damu still ruled, you know what I mean? We ruled up north, you know what I mean? But the race thing, that's fucked up. Pistol P said that, man. You know what I mean? Make it look like the brothers wasn't holding it down. But don't get me wrong. In them jails he was talking about, the some of the blacks would sell out the blacks to them Spanish niggas. You know what I mean? They would sell them out. You know what I mean? Because they had I don't guess it was established already who run the jails. And when the Damu start coming up, you know, we didn't care who ran the jail. We didn't care who this nigga was from, where this nigga was from. Niggas was young, 19s, 20s, 21s. You had the younger niggas like Cameron and them coming up, and niggas was on that blood rule, and niggas was putting a stamp down. You know what I mean? And you had them back in the days niggas that, you know what I mean, that put that work in, and you had them niggas that put the work in on Rikers Island. But up north was kind of different because you had other niggas that didn't come through Rikers Island. You know what I mean? Shit was crazy though. But I don't know who Pistol P is, you know what I mean? I don't want that. I just think he should fix up his statement. Maybe he told his boys to pull back. You know what I mean? Because they did say son be putting in that work. You know, when he came home like he's about his business. You know what I mean? I don't know. You know, I don't really fuck with them niggas in the Bronx. You know what I mean? Because like they be saying, even that Brooklyn Bronx war thing, right? I came up north after that, but it's like a natural shit. Brooklyn niggas don't get along with Bronx niggas. I mean, you got some Bronx niggas that's cool. Shout out to my son Mel's son. You know what I mean? Latin King. You know what I mean? That nigga love Big Pun. You know what I mean? And there's a few other Spanish niggas. You know what I mean? That's about that life. You know what I mean? But I don't know what that nigga Pistol P was on, man. You know, maybe I think he meant it like that though. I think he meant it like he told his homies to step back. You know what I mean? Don't go to the yard that he's cool with that was black. And then when he went to the yard, mostly the dudes in the yard that he had beef with was black. So he ended up stabbing everybody. And I guess it was some kind of commotion while the guy was walking with the police, which is hard for him to sneak up on the guy and eat his food and not get caught. I think he capping though, but baby, it goes like that. You know what I mean? Shit be crazy sometimes. You know what I mean? But I never really heard of son like that in the mountains. People never heard of me in the mountains. You know what I mean? Police heard of me though. You know what I mean? But, you know what I mean? There's a lot of dudes that's name brand dudes that was in the mountains, especially Spanish niggas, man. You gotta shout out my nigga T, you know, Latin King T. You know what I mean? Bravo. You know what I mean? He got ate by my son too. He got his food ate. You know what I mean? Mel's son. You got a lot of Latin King niggas that was cool. And you had some niggas that, yo, they were shooters. You had some Spanish niggas like, you know, I don't want to call too much like Baby Heck. You know, Heck Tech. You know what I mean? Those dudes You know what I mean? You hear their names, and you know if you in transit and you run into them niggas, you know they gonna try to eat you. You know what I mean? You know you gotta try to eat them, cause them niggas is plates. You know what I mean? You had a few niggas that was real shooters back then. You know what I mean? That was Spanish, and they will put it on. You know what I mean? And some non-name niggas too. You know what I mean? Cause let me tell you something about the mietas. Yo, I rate the Latin Kings, but you see them mietas? Not putting them down or nothing. They some of them get busy. But what they do is get the dope heads to come when they putting out a hit, they give the dope heads to come at you, you know what I mean? And you know them niggas don't give a fuck. They coming at you, they high already, so they trying to hurt you. You know what I mean? You are. But it's messed up that to this day it's it's about race wars in jail. And then when you see us on the street, we listening to the same music, we vibing the same, we in the same hotels. You know what I mean? We trying to get the same chicks, but when you in jail now, it's like, pop, Jose is over there and I'm over here, and because of how things set, Jose acting hard because he might want to stab me as a black man. You know what I mean? Because I'm in there, I'm working out, I'm looking diesel, and I take him for a punk. You know what I mean? It's just fucked up situations in jail, man. And the color about it, and when you in the box, that's the fucked up shit about it. When you in the box in prison, that's a jail within a jail. And you with all these enemies. Now you got some of them that will sit in their cell and not talk to nobody. They just on that militant. As soon as they sell pop, it's on and cracking, popping. You see what I'm saying? And then you got other niggas that put in work. Yeah, I'm blood. He Latin King, and we in the box. We next door to each other, cause the fucking police will put you next door to your enemy. And you next door to him, they might not know he's your enemy, but they know he's a Latin king, and they know you a Damu, and they put you next door to him, and you know, y'all end up surviving together.
Evening parties, including Wilders' party, are vying with each other for first place.
Yo, I'm out. Listen for part two. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna play the audio of this nigga talking, change the background because it's evil, and get back to y'all. I'm out.
Most US companies